Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Tanya Neyman, and today we are going to talk about crime and punishment. If you're here in the chat, please write a plus if everything is fine technically, and we're going to start. And I would like to start my presentation with a quote by Dostoevsky. All my heart will be poured into this novel. I conceived it in exile, lying on the plank bed, in a heavy moment of sadness and self destruction. So, what are we going to talk about today? Let me present the plan, the outline for today. Christopher, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. So, today it's the first lecture. I've prepared actually two, where in the first we talk about the background and more of historical context, the origins of the novel. And then in the second one, we'll basically go into analysis of this masterpiece. Because I believe that once you watch a movie or you read a book, it's very, very important to understand the context. And since, I'm your guide into Russian culture and history, that's what we're going to talk about today. So we will start with the exploration of Dostoevsky's life and some crucial moments as you could see in the quote, he was in exile, some turning moments, some key biographical details, uh, political environment, and what was happening in Russia while Dostoevsky was working on Crime and Punishment. We'll talk about the regions, historical background, and context. Of course, I'm going to mention all the main themes in the novel, discussions, and prominent also topics, author's motivations, what was a trigger, what led Dostoevsky to read it. And at the end, if you're here with me, I'll be happy to answer your questions. And please let me know in the chat if you're watching it live, or also in the comments if you're watching the recording. Have you read Crime and Punishment or not? And if not, you can write me at the end of this tour or lecture whether it inspired you to read it. And let me tell you a few words about myself. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya, and I'm a professional tour guide. I've been working as a tour guide for over 8 years. I do all types of tours. So basically, my expertise is Russian culture, mentality, history, and literature. Not many people know that I have a bachelor's degree in journalism, and in Russia, it's pretty much like literature. So that is what I worked on for a number of years, and I've been doing lectures about Russian literature for I think like over 2 years. So you can find one of the videos on my YouTube channel with the best Russian books I recommend to read. And yeah, this is the first stream that I do. I present it as a tip supported tour. So this way, I'll be able to create more tours and lectures. So if you enjoy it and you want to support my work, the links are in the description and in the comments. So let's start with I prepared, as you can see, also a presentation. So hopefully, if you enjoy it and if you want to explore more Russian novels and stories with me, we can do it. We can continue. Thank you, Christopher, for your answer. Yeah, if anyone else wants to share, please let me know. And yeah, maybe you've read some other Russian novels or stories. Maybe you have some favorite Russian writers. Yeah, feel free. And also, maybe this will be a good recommendation for others in the chat or in the comments. So, what is the main theme of Crime and Punishment? Although it's not analysis, but it's very important to understand what is it all about. So, in a few words, it's about the challenging situation of the poorest segments of society, leading to the moral decay and bitterness. This is a story that you can hear pretty much everywhere around the world, right? We have rich and poor, and yeah, we have a lot of injustice, and this is also one of the topics that is covered in Crime and Punishment: the humiliated and insulted. And here you can see the cover of the book by Dostoevsky, The Humiliated and Insulted. So basically, as you can see, it was one of his main topics. Love is a potential savior, and I think this is also very, deep and philosophical story. I want to mention that Dostoevsky was more than just a writer. He was considered as one of the biggest Russian philosophers. So if you haven't read Crime and Punishment, prepare to a pretty deep and profound story. The next topic: the moral decline and rebirth of an individual, whether it's possible or not. And as you can see from the title, after a crime. The theme of a little man, what it means in Russian literature, it's a phenomenon. Basically, the idea is that we have all of these heroes, we have an ability, we have gentry, people who were born in privilege. But there is a little man who doesn't have, who may not have these big ambitions, who doesn't have money. And his life was not interesting for generations of writers. But here it comes. It's considered to be with Gogol. Is another great writer who I'd recommend you to read. I also have lectures on Gogol that you can find on my Buy Me Coffee page. But basically, many writers were writing about it. And if you think about the modern world, the same story. Even today with Hollywood, people are more focused on superheroes like, I don't know, Spider-Man or Avengers than a story of a little man. And what's what we are going to talk about? The main character of Crime and Punishment, he is like this little man. What he's known for and what he will be known for us in the first place is the crime. And as I mentioned before, the theme of justice. So what was the background and what led Dostoevsky to work on Crime and Punishment? First, hard labor that he went through himself. Second, the situation and the surge of violence in St. Petersburg in the 60s. If you know about Russian history, or again, we're going to do more lectures about it, you might heard about the crucial event, the end of serfdom. In 1861, and later on the situation with serfdom actually led to the revolution. And this one comes to like rich and poor, privileged, and all the ordinary people. So in his works and in general, Dostoevsky also tries to find the origins of evil. Dostoevsky himself, let me just tell you a few words about him. I believe you've heard about Dostoevsky, although, as a tour guide, I've had some tourists who had no idea who he is, which is honestly a pity for me as someone who loves literature, but here it comes. He's certainly one of the most outstanding Russian writers, and his works are recognized as classics of world literature, not only Russian literature. Moreover, Dostoevsky is considered to be the most appreciated Russian writer abroad in the Western countries, although in Russia, it's mainly it's mostly about Pushkin, so it's as the main Russian writer. He's considered to be, one of the well-known and popular Russian writers abroad, global cultural immense. And today, like you can see Dostoevsky's influence even in movies. What made him special and one of his majors was a psychological novel. So Dostoevsky, without any doubt, was considered to be a master of psychological novel. Why? Because in his works, a person was portrayed as a dual being. It's not like, again, as I said, you're a good person, you're a hero, but it's all complex. Why did he care about it, and why do we care about certain things in our lives in general? Here is a sketch of Petreski Circle morgue execution. So basically, Dostoevsky was a member of the circle. And at that time, he was already a renowned writer. And it's actually interesting to read his early works and compare it to what he was working on later. So this circle was basically considered as utopian socialists. They had the weekly meetings at Petreski's apartment, and these circle members were arrested and sentenced to execution in 1849. Sounds like Russia, and later on, it was changed to exile to Siberia, which was also an answer for generations, so for centuries, in Russia. So they were pardoned right on the scaffold before the command fire. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine the situation? What kind of traumatic experience Dostoevsky went through himself? And of course, this shocking event profoundly influenced Dostoevsky and his life. And later on, when he turned from exile, he was a completely different writer. So once you read his works, I mean, you have to prepare that it's all, dark and gloomy. It's very pessimistic. And looking also, at his photos, you cannot imagine that this person, had something like satire and comedy before. But this is life. That's what major events lead us to. And here is the event that the context, the historical context that also influenced Dostoevsky. As I said, the 60s and the 70s of the 19th century in Russia, they mark a time of significant transformation, specifically 1861. It was the time of revolutionary ideas on the rise. It was the revolutionary upheaval. Most of the people know 1917 as the Russian Revolution, or the Great Russian Revolution. But how did it lead all to that? And once you read Dostoevsky and some other great Russian writers like Turgenev, you can actually find this answer. So the abolition of serfdom shatters the established order of life. And here you can see one of the most famous Russian paintings depicting life that people were experiencing for centuries. Again, was it fair or not for people, to go through it? Glad to see that rain made an appearance. Thank you, James. Thank you. Happy to see you in the chat. Please feel free to share your recommendations with others. So there are many challenges in the society, and with the employment, with the later on crime, violence, because obviously you give people freedom, but you don't explain what to do with it. They don't have education, etc., etc. There is a similar problem around the world. So you can actually find might find a similar historical context in your country. So of course, once you just see it, you read stories about it, it affects you, especially in the case of Dostoevsky, once he went through his personal experience. Not many people know, but originally it was supposed to be the novel Tipsy. And if you read Crime and Punishment, also let me know in the chat. You might recognize the scene from Crime and Punishment in the beginning. So basically, his Dostoevsky was intended to be to write a confession about the years of hard labor. The concept was later on, the concept underwent changes, and even the main character was changed. Originally, their idea was around uh, the plot revolted around a minor official in the capital who had completely fallen from grace, and he has lost everything that he earned and everything that he had, and the official literally was pushed his daughter into prostitution to earn him money for alcohol. I told you this is not the easiest novel and book to read, especially if you are under 18 years old. But that's pretty much the age that I had to read this novel at school. Mm, so if you read Crime and Punishment, or if you're going to read, you might recognize Marmeladov, who's supposed to be the main character in the beginning, and his daughter, who was forced to become a prostitute, um, Sonia Marmeladova. So all around it, the number of crimes in St. Petersburg doubled while Dostoevsky was working in his novel, and then he decided to change the idea of it. He decided to have another main character, and it is Raskolnikov. So today, I don't actually talk about the plot of Crime and Punishment. Let me know if you're interested in the comments. I might create a video, like a short video, with just sharing this plot in small, like it's more entertaining way than lecture. I'll try to work on it. So there's the evidence, of the steep scene that was supposed to be the name. So what was Dostoevsky's motivation behind this work? He managed to perceive the world in his own way. He was finding life, material, creating compositions, and articulated his thoughts. So basically, he wanted to share his life. He wanted to share his thoughts. And he was looking for many answers. This search for ways to save humanity, that was actually common for many Russian writers. What can save us from all of this madness around us? He raised questions about the philosophy and the spirit. So that is also one of the aims of Crime and Punishment. Some other themes that we can find in Crime and Punishment: faith of the path of salvation, the world of humiliated good and evil, progressive theories, the theme of love. Is the so as for today, I would like to finish it with quote by Dostoevsky. I will just share it in the chat. And a good artistic illustration of serfdom is rapine iter possession. So thank you very much for writing it. Cannot share it in the chat. So let me just read it. As long as I remember myself, I remember the love of my parents towards me. In our family, we knew the gospel almost from early childhood. I was only 10 years old when I already knew almost all the main episodes of Russian history from Karamzin, whom my father read to us aloud in the evenings. Every visit to the Kremlin and the cathedrals of Moscow was something solemn for me. Perhaps others didn't have such memories as I do. I often reflect and ask myself now, what impressions does the youth of today, which is contemporary to us, most carry from their childhood? So for today, I will finish with this quote. And let me know if you have any questions about the origins of Crime and Punishment. I will be happy to answer. If not, let me know if you're interested in the analysis and if you're interested in me sharing the plot. So that was my first stream on Russian literature. If you want me to do more, you can support my channel on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, PayPal. That will be really helpful. I'm also organizing lectures, like longer ones. They're 1-hour lectures on some other Russian plays, novels. So the next lecture will be on Chekhov, and all the announcements you can find on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. If there are no questions, then thank you for watching. See you next time. There are more lectures and live streams are coming soon. Have a nice day.